Great. So it looks like we're live. So I'm sitting here with Nick Calder today. Yeah, I'm interviewing Nick Calder, who is a friend whom I met on social media very recently. And I've been exposed to his poetry and his other art, his mixed media art that he is going to tell us a lot about. First of all, maybe just say something about myself. My name is Zach. As you can probably see on the screen, you will not be able to pronounce my family name, so I'm not going to say it. It's impossible. So so I'll be just Zach today. You can find us both on Instagram. My handle is Zachary Val underscore writer, and yours, Nick, is
Is
yeah.
Nick Calder _.
Great. Okay, so people know how to find us. So we decided to do this talk, this sort of improvised interview with Nick. It's been something I've been wanting to do for a very long time, to have someone to talk with about writing, the writing journey, maybe poetry specifically. So that's what we're here to do. I have some questions prepared, 13 questions. I tried to pick the interesting ones, so no boring questions. We'll see at the end if I did well with them. Also, Nick hasn't seen the questions. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what I'm going to ask him. So I hope that you're going to enjoy this, Nick, and also for our audience, whoever is watching around the world. Can you maybe please tell us more about yourself, what you're all about, before I start asking the hard questions?
Yeah, and I'm excited for the hard questions.
Awesome.
My name's Nick, obviously. I've been publishing books for about, I would say, a year and a half. It's been a focus to actually publish them, but I've been writing for much longer than that. And I'm a poet. I have a publishing imprint that I'm working on building, and I'm a former tech industry worker. So it's been an interesting transition for me. But yeah, I live in the U.S. near Philadelphia.
Great. Awesome. Awesome. So this is all very interesting. I'm pretty sure this has had an influence on your writing. This is something that I'm going to ask down the line. So great. Do you want to start with the questions?
Yeah, hit me. Let's do
Great.
it.
All right. So I have them here. So the first question is, and this is the foundational one. So when did you first know that you wanted to write? When was really the first time when you knew you were sure that this is what you wanted to do? And how did that happen?
So I'll be honest, I never really had that like moment of this is what I want to do. I remember when I was younger, I would always try to I would actually write a lot of lyrics. And I remember trying to write some very poorly written stories as a young kid. But I kind of just looked to writing as an outlet for a lot of emotional things throughout my life. And it's just something that it wasn't a choice to write it. It was like, I don't know where else this isn't going to be productive to come out any other way. So I would just sit down and I would write it, and then my perfectionism kicked in and I would turn them into finished poems. But more recently, I've just had enough people that have seen those poems and seen certain things I would write, even in work scenarios, and they'd be like, you should start writing. And I heard that repeatedly over and over and over again. And then I just had this moment where I was like, why am I fighting all these people telling me that I should be a writer? Let's just try it. Let's try it and put it out. I did a trial project, and it sold more than I expected it to, and it felt right. So I kind of just kept going. And then the next one came, and I kept doing it.
Great. Sounds great. I sort of saw it in my head, how that must have been, how it developed. Great, great. Awesome. So that answers it perfectly. If you want, we can move on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, well, do you mind me asking how you got into writing?
Yeah, it was very similar in a way. So I've been writing for, I don't know how many years it's now, almost 20 years. So from my very early teen years, I started writing. It was the same for me, very bad stories in the beginning. I tried fantasy, I tried some sci-fi, things like that maybe most teens or teen guys would write. And again, I also didn't have another outlet, so that's maybe very similar. And I chose writing because it was really accessible. So It didn't require any budget, so that was the first one. That was the first reason. So no film crew, no instruments, no nothing. Just pen and paper back then, and later a computer. So that's how it started for me, and it slowly developed, and I've been doing it ever since. All this time with rare pauses. There were some pauses where I didn't write anything for months and months, but I haven't stopped for 20 years. So yeah, in a way, maybe similar. So yeah, that's how I started.
I think a really big thing that I didn't touch on that you did there was how accessible it is, because
Yeah,
realistically where I wanted to do was music, but it was just
yeah,
cost.
me too.
I was trying to like do production and stuff. It just costs so much money, and writing is just always there. And so I think that's a really important thing about writing, is that anybody can do it.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's great that it's so accessible. If I didn't have this, it would have been much more difficult. I saw in one of your backgrounds or in one of your pictures that you have a guitar. So do you play? Do you play the guitar?
Badly, very,
Me
very bad.
too. Me too. Yeah, same story. Yeah, I initially I wanted to play the guitar, but I never put in the work to learn it, like I did writing, and I was angry that it wasn't that it didn't sound right. And late in later years, like recently, I decided to give it another try and really learn it. And I made some progress, but I gave up at the F chord. Yeah, it was too much.
Yep.
With work and everything, I'm like, no, this is my time is past for this. Even though that's not really an excuse.
Yeah, no, the F chord with the
Yeah.
bar, it's yeah, it's a pain in the
It's
butt.
terrible. Yeah, it used to make my fingers hurt too much, and I was like, no,
Yep.
let's just stick to
Yep.
writing. And I'm also not very musical. I don't know about you, but I have no sense of music, like or rhythm,
Really.
or yeah. I mean, I love music,
Hmm.
really, but making music, no. I mean, at least so far, I just looks like I don't have it in me. But yeah, so I think that's also very common for people to try out many different types of art. That's what I found. We also see it in the community, people posting all kinds of stuff, and also photography and paintings and all kinds of stuff. But I wanted to be really good at one thing, and not scatter my energy. And I decided that writing would be that thing. And I think I chose right, for my person. And probably you did too.
Thanks for saying that. I always question
Yeah.
it. It's always questioning.
No, it's evident that you're good at this. It's what I would say. It's
Thank
very
you.
clear. Yeah, to me at least. Yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there. So great. If you want, we can move on to the next one.
Yep.
Let's see.
Sure.
I wrote them. I wrote these questions a few days back, and I forgot what they are. So they're a surprise to me as well. I don't remember what I wrote. So let's see. No, I asked you this already. So the second question is, why did you choose writing among all the arts? So okay, I already asked you this. We already know the answer to this question. Yeah, we can move on to the third one. So I guess these things are all connected in my head anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So next one. This is an easy one. So what were some early, really early influences that had a big impact on your writing? You can see that they had a big impact on your writing. And it could be anything. It could be a person. It could be some music that you listen to, some movie, something.
So there's several things here, and I would say they're probably not
Yeah.
the normal influences. So
That's why we're
I'll
here,
start
I
with
suppose.
yeah, I'll start with the easier ones.
Yeah.
Rap music is the biggest influence. That's actually where the
Interesting.
music part for me started.
Awesome. Okay.
And I kind of realized that it was poetry in a way.
Yeah.
I would like break down all the artists and how they did their rhyming structure and like what kind of like literary devices they were using and how they were flipping different concepts to make it interesting and playing with expectations. I would say of all of them, Kendrick was a huge one, but in terms of, and he was more like, I would say like my spiritual influence
Uh huh.
in terms of like what my writing took on a lot of was Eminem, who
Yeah.
actually shares a lot of similarities in the way that he writes his stuff with Edgar Allan Poe. So I started looking at some of the things that Poe would do and Eminem would do, and incorporating those into how I would write. So in terms of like the structure and those kinds of things, the early ones were Poe and Eminem were the big ones.
Very interesting. Yeah. Um, Great. I was going to ask you what kind of rap music you like and influenced you because there are some legends out there that are lesser known. Have you heard of Idea?
Idea. I mean,
Idea. So this
I've
is
heard the name.
yeah, this is very interesting. So I can tell you about this. I think you will love Idea.
Okay.
So I got this recommended by a friend who is one of those friends who's listened to everything. He's listened to every possible artist out there, and his thing was rap music, which I didn't understand at the time. But he said, think about it. Rap music is the music that allows you to convey the most amount of information in the shortest amount of time. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay. So I didn't like rap too much growing up. My thing was metal. But anyway, so he introduced me to this. He introduced me to this artist Idea. So this is written as an I, like the idea.
Gotcha.
And he's famous for being, I think, the rapper with who used the most words in his music. So I think he used more than 10,000 different words in his songs.
Probably
He's
more than
incredible.
that.
He's incredible. So
Yeah.
it's he has several songs. He died. By the way, he died very early. He died very young, and he did these rap battles. So he was a rap battle champion. By the way, I think he also battled Eminem as well
Oh, really?
very early in his career. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think I've seen this. And Eminem was influenced by him, so he was the original sort of influence. Very interesting. You can look him up, but very serious lyrics. Very kind of dark. It's not gangster rap. It's almost like poetry, but wrapped in in this rap casing. So I think you might find this interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
that might be where I heard him from because I
yeah.
once looked at like all the compared writers and rappers
Mm,
and who used more words in their first 10,000 words or something like that. I forget what it was. And it was like Shakespeare was like eighth on the list and the top
uh,
seven were all rappers.
wow.
So
Okay.
it was pretty interesting to see that. So he might have been on there. That might have been where I seen it.
Probably, yeah, maybe. But he's also very retro. I think I don't know if he when he died, but he was active around the year 2000 or something. So he's
Okay.
a late 90s artist. So maybe also that's why. And he's very obscure. You hear about him from someone like you hear this from me now. Very, very interesting. But it's kind of not surprising, maybe. It was very surprising to me now that you say it, that rap was a big influence, but it shouldn't be surprising, maybe, that much. Very interesting. No, uh, you know, that's great. That's very interesting. Awesome. Do you want to move on to a next question, or is there something
Let's
else
do
you
it.
want to tell us about this?
I mean, I could talk about rap for all day. So unless you
Yeah, I'm
got
pretty
24
sure.
hours,
Can you rap? Can you improvise? Can you do these things?
I
Or
not so much anymore. It used to
all right.
be in college I actually became pretty popular for being able to rap to the point that if
Awesome.
someone was rapping at a party, I would get a call and they'd be like, "Yo, this dude's rapping. Come show him up. Like show him what's up." And it was yeah. So now I'm embarrassed by it, but I did do a lot of freestyling.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't be embarrassed by I understand completely. It doesn't match your current persona and influence and all that. I've
Right.
done things like that as well. Yeah. Also, but this is incredibly difficult. Trying to come up with lyrics on the spot and being original and this is nearly impossible to do. So that's you probably found some other outlet for this skill later in life. I don't know, maybe even in corporate meetings or something. I don't know, but coming up with something to say so quickly, this is a kind of genius that's rare. I don't have it. I
It's
can't,
trained. It's trained.
and it's probably also trained. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It did not come easy at first. Trust me. Some of the things I would say didn't make any sense. But
All
yeah.
right. I trust you. Yeah, it's probably trained also. All right. So, okay, finally, we're coming to the interesting stuff. So, what is a genre that you will never write in? Just never. You will never touch it. You don't want to touch it. You will never write in this genre. So, what is it? Do you have an idea?
I have some ideas. I'm trying to think what the most specific one would be. I would say probably the romantasy genre.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That'd be my pick right now.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. I also thought a lot about this when I was thinking about this question, that I wanted to ask you. And I realized that this says a lot about you as a writer, in a way. In fact, it probably says
It's a
more
good
about
question.
you, right? Usually when you say I'm never going to do this, then you end up doing it. It's very strange. So I try to refrain from saying never. But I've said this several times. So yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was for a long time. I mean, romantasy is a big thing right now, and that's kind of why it was
Yes.
front of my mind. And
Right.
I'll be more like straightforward. Like it's the smut type romantasy I couldn't see myself writing. I
Yeah,
think I'm
yeah,
pretty safe on that one.
yeah. This is what I thought you meant. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think that I'll ever be writing that. I think I'm safe to say that. But it's funny that you say it because before that became a trend, I think I would have said probably sci-fi, and I'm
uh-huh.
actually writing a novel right now that is technically sci-fi.
Yeah,
So it's funny that you say that because
right.
you're exactly correct. That the thing I said I would never do is the thing that I ended up writing.
Yeah, right. It's very strange. It's very strange. You end up doing this exact thing. It's very strange. So for me, I said I will never write a children's book. Because I got an invitation or a suggestion by a friend. They said, "Why don't you write, a children's book or children's poetry?" And I always thought, this is so unserious. This is so not who I am. But now, when I think about this now, I still don't want to write a children's book. But now that I think about it, it's probably the most serious thing that you can ever write. It's very strange because a child will be influenced by this. It leaves a memory. It could be, a forming memory, in fact, a very important one. So it's actually very serious business.
Yeah, that's funny. I've thought about the
Yeah.
same thing. I thought you were going to tell me you've written a children's book that I didn't know about when you first were saying it. But
No, no,
the
no, no.
the like those books, it's when you start writing and you start seeing how these ideas form and how like you start becoming aware of how you interpret information that comes to you because now it's coming back out as writing, right? And you start to understand that there's a power to writing that you can't really take lightly. And I think it's just,
Yes.
to your point, it's exaggerated when you're dealing with children because
Yeah.
the parent might not even know what these books are doing for their children or to their children, whatever it might be. And it's a huge responsibility to take on as a writer. And I applaud children book writers that at least keep that in mind because it's not like I'd be scared to do it almost.
Yeah. Same. Right. Yeah. Same. This is what must have been hiding behind, this thing that I said. No, no, this is not for me.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it's actually very serious business, in a way, in a very similar way that I think this is what I think that comedy is actually very, very difficult to write because in a way you can't expect people to laugh at nonsense. It's actually very serious. It has to be very intelligently done, right? It's similar in that way. It's actually very difficult to write something that's funny and it's funny for a lot of people, and it's not offensive, and it's not cheap. I don't know. So actually,
Right on the edge.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, and it's relevant, and it stays relevant forever. So that's very, very, very difficult to do. But on first sight, it doesn't appear that way. It appears that it's just you're just telling jokes. No, it's actually incredibly difficult. Right. So yeah. So I thought about this because people always say, everything you write is so serious, and it is really serious. It's incredibly
Hmm.
serious, and I think it takes a lot of strength to make something funny and humorous. I haven't found a way to do this so far.
In writing or
Yes, in writing, yeah. I have a strong need for humor. I'm telling jokes all the time in real life. You would never guess this from my profile. It's like night and day, and so it's finding an outlet elsewhere. But it would be, if I could ever write, a comedy, that would be incredible, but it would be probably the most difficult thing to write in my life. Probably, I don't know, probably the single most difficult thing to write would be comedy, I think, for me.
Yeah, because it still needs all of the. I mean, unless if you're doing stand up, oh, even stand up, it's still
Yeah,
storytelling, and it
right.
still has to have
Yeah.
all the elements that a good story has, but you also have to make it funny. I think that, like, if you break down writing, there's just comedy gets kind of brushed under the rug because people are laughing at it and it seems silly, but it's just a different version of the same thing everyone else is doing, right? Like in poetry, you're looking to elicit a certain emotion
Hmm.
with your writing, and there's a way to do that with your words and like even intonation to an extent. And comedy is just that, but for humor, right? And it's just kind of
Yes.
putting it on all the different areas.
Very well said. I haven't thought about it this way. Yeah, but I completely agree. Yeah, exactly.
Hmm. So yeah, it's
So
tough.
yeah, serious business. Yeah, difficult. So to all the comedians out there, respect for what you're doing. All right, great. So I think this was very interesting. It was to me. Is there another genre that you would probably never write in, that now that we're talking, you see it?
Now that you're saying it, probably comedy.
All
It
right.
does sound
Yeah.
hard.
It is great. So, what scares you the most about writing? So, what is very intimidating to you about writing?
When you ask that question, do you mean like the actual process of writing what
I
I'm?
mean, no, not the actual process. Maybe also, but
Okay,
when you take writing as a general, the entire writing sphere, this entire part of your personality. So, what
gotcha.
scares you the most about it? What is very intimidating to you about writing? I think this is important.
I think I mean, we talked a little bit about like the fear of like what impact your words have that
Yeah.
you may not really fully grasp. But I think the thing that's more like ever present is this balance of like, am I being true to myself and how much of myself do I
Hmm.
really want to put out there?
Hmm.
And like balancing that line of like, this is going to be public in a certain way, and do I really want that to be out there in that way forever?
Yes.
I
Right.
think that's the scariest thing, but also balancing it with the feeling of like, well, is it true to me if I don't go all the way?
Right. Right.
So yeah,
Yeah, I would have said the same exact words. I have the
really,
same experience. Yes, yes, perfectly the same experience. It continues to uh, be a very big question. It hasn't disappeared. And I'm not sure to what extent this is a universal feeling. I don't know if all
yeah,
writers are like this. I don't know to what extent everyone feels this. If there are people who truly don't care, what they've written. I don't know, but it sounds impossible to me.
yeah. I don't know. I think I agree with you, and I think that's kind of a part of why we like got along in general is probably because we
Yeah.
come from
Hmm.
similar perspectives. But like,
Probably. Yeah.
I think I don't know. I feel like if you're truly a writer, you're doing it because there's something that's the only way you can get it out. And those writers are the ones that struggle with this. But I think there's a lot of writers out there that just want to be a writer and just
Mm.
want to tell stories. And there's nothing of them on the page. Like
Uh-huh.
they'll pull things from areas, maybe like obviously everyone's going to write a different thing and have different perspectives, but they're not talking about themselves or like really putting themselves out there in that way. And that's maybe they don't even know that there is anything else there to put on the page, right? It's
Uh-huh.
just how they see the world. But I think those people might have an easier time. I think this question would sound ridiculous to some of those people almost.
Probably, yes, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I think that you can, I'm psychoanalyzing everything all the time. I love doing it. It's become, a habit. But, I also did this for my books. And I tried to do this in a very, as objectively as possible. So, what would a person say about these books, if they were completely unbiased? And I think what the author doesn't say is just as important as what they're saying. And so if you can read between the lines, you will see maybe that there's something missing there. Right. So even uh, if you read any text, any written work, I will be able to, with some analysis, to say what are they not saying. How are they treating their characters, for example? Why are they choosing these words? Yeah, even when you are not aware of what you're saying, you end up saying a lot about yourself at the end of the way. You can't hide it from a very prepared public, I would
Yep.
say. I think.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah,
100% with you.
great, awesome. So maybe another part of the question would be on a lower level. Not the big fears that we all have, but something that intimidates you. I can tell you what intimidates me, and then you can tell me what is it about you, so I can make the question more specific. So for example, what intimidates me is character creation. That's one of the
Okay.
things that I just, so far, I've never written a long story where you really develop characters, and this is something that's in my future. I will try to do this one day, and I know that I will have to be in first grade again. I will have to learn again how to do this because it has nothing to do with poetry, or very little to do. So this is one thing that intimidates me. So it says a lot about you. What is the thing that's
Yeah.
stopping you from progressing there? Maybe I'm kind of afraid that I will write sort of very cardboard cutout characters, or very shallow characters, or not original, or whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And by the way, I thought the question in general was really good. I was just saying, I think that there's people that don't even see this realm of writing when they're
Mm.
writing it, right? But I thought
Yeah.
from my perspective, I was like, it's a really good question because it is
Right.
like, I think you and I both have the same fear there. But in terms of the writing process, yeah, I think that's probably why I err towards the side of poetry somewhat as well, is that I'm scared of the character creation process. But I think
Mm.
on a larger picture for that, it's like like maintaining this like consistent, anything consistent over a long
Yeah.
form of writing,
Right.
and like character creation is one of those because it just gets, I don't have simple concepts, so it just gets so intertwined and everything like that. So world building,
Yeah. Right.
like all of it is intimidating. The bigger you get, the more there is to be intimidated by.
Same. I think in the same way. And this was, for me, this was the main reason why I dropped sci-fi, because you have to know a lot about physics. You have to know about space in order not to say something incredibly stupid. At some point, you can bend the rules to some degree. You can. Maybe people will say, okay, maybe this will be plausible in 1,000 years or something. Sometimes you can say something so dramatically stupid that it will just ruin the book for someone. And it's the same for fantasy. And we live in a world where even the best are for example, George Martin is one of my favorites. George R. R. Martin. He gets scrutinized about every single word that he's ever said. It's impossible, and they managed to catch him in some very, very minor world building mistakes. It's laughable how small they are. And I just can't accept the fact that I will inevitably make these mistakes. You will never have a perfect world.
Yeah,
I
and I
think.
think that
Yeah.
that's there's some quote about critics. It's like if you can't do the thing, become a critic.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I look at it. Is like some people are
Mm.
going to enjoy it, some people are going to tear it apart. I'm sure that's killing George R. R. Martin because he loves world building stuff. So
Yeah.
that's probably killing him that he's got those inconsistencies. But like you're making a story out of thin air and
Mm.
trying to make, what is it? Novels are like 120,000 words, and
It's
every single one has to make sense, right? So
yeah, crazy.
I think that's an exercise in how well you're able to deal with the fact that you're just going to make a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. 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 And he specifically, he, at least in my estimation, has raised the bar so impossibly high, for world building, that I say, you will never be. I don't know. You will never probably be better than this in world building. It's impossible. How can you make something deeper than this? It's like 1,000 generations of knights, all with the heraldry and all that stuff. You've
It's
never
like
like,
Tolkien. I don't know
yeah,
how
Tolkien.
anyone like. It's
Yeah,
insane. It's insane how much is.
same.
Yeah.
Same, yeah. So I decided that if I'm ever going to write a fantasy, I'm not going in there. I'm not going to be I'm not even going to try to be a world builder. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm with you on that. What I'm working on right now, I ran into it, and it's part of the meaning of the book. I think I've incorporated to make that more manageable, as a side effect of it. So we'll
yeah.
see. We'll see if I can pull it
Same
off.
here. I mean, keeping this in mind specifically, right? So great, awesome, awesome. Do you want to move on to the next one? Great. So all right. So this is kind of connected. So you titled your latest book "Glass and Gravel." So this is the only book that I read from you. But it's very interesting because why did you choose this title? And I can tell you why I'm asking this because it suggests a kind of awareness or maybe a desire. So I'm psychoanalyzing your title now. Maybe you're partially aware that your writing is abrasive in some way, glass and gravel, but I didn't find it abrasive in any way. I don't know. So, in fact, it was very smooth, or maybe that was the intended purpose. I don't know.
It's a really good point. Yeah, I definitely. It's in the back of my mind. I've felt that my writing is abrasive pretty often, but Glass and Gravel came from a few places. So
Mhm.
one of them I can't really. It's a little bit of an Easter egg. So I don't know
Okay.
what it's called when like you can find a word within words, but there's a hidden
Like a
poem
puzzle
title. Yeah.
in your book.
hmm But the overall part of it is really there's themes of like reflection and of building oneself up and
Mm-hmm.
kind of a transformation concept. Lots of sand, glass, mirror,
Oh, I see.
gravel, concrete building, and then like the
Mm-hmm.
deconstruction of them and falling apart. There's a lot of
Very interesting.
breaking of glass and breaking like crumbling buildings throughout the book. So as I started to, and I also organize the book kind of by, I mean, the one chapter is called Reflect, and then there's one called Concrete,
Mm-hmm,
which
mm-hmm.
are the formed versions of like
Right.
the
I
useful
didn't
versions
catch that.
of glass and gravel. So that's where that concept came from.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I like alliteration.
Awesome, awesome. So this is great. This is very interesting. I didn't read maybe that deeply into it. I thought it was just a way of showing my language is abrasive, and this is my main message. You should expect, an abrasive book. This was my initial reaction, to
Yeah, and
the
that's there
title.
too. I think it served that purpose too because I kind of knew the book isn't for everybody.
Right. Yeah. This is very important as well. This is another question that's very important. Yeah. So you also structured your book now that you say it. There is an inherent logic in the title, in the chapters. I also do this, and also I found that people very rarely understand the meaning. Behind the chapter titles and all that, and they get confused, and this shows up in reviews. So, the danger here is making it so obscure that they don't get it. I've done this before.
Yeah, it's always there's a part of you that's always writing just for yourself,
The
right?
same,
And
yeah,
that's like
yeah.
and that's and it's balancing between how do I write for myself but in a way that doesn't alienate somebody from like or it doesn't alienate everybody.
Everybody,
So a lot of the Easter eggs are just for me.
great. The same for me, by the way. I
Yeah.
think this is actually a very good approach because when you write for yourself, and I'm guilty of this too, almost exclusively writing for myself now. You, by being who you are, I think you allow people who need this exact thing in their life to find you.
Yes.
This is my way of thinking about it. Um, yeah, and yeah, so that's also what I've done. Yeah, and I love placing Easter eggs here and there as well. They're not very difficult to spot. So, for example, in every one of my books, the title of the book will be found only once in the entire text inside
Mm,
of the book. Yeah.
gotcha.
So yeah, and it will be capitalized, and you will, or the main word of the title will be. And so yeah, so you will be able to find it. It will be there only once, and this is true
And
for
so
all
it
of my
pops up.
titles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or another thing that I'm doing, all of my chapters are have precise lengths, and they're all calculated using a formula. So the formula is very simple. So they're
Okay.
either always the exact length, 10 pieces, 10 pieces, 10 pieces, or they're divisible by 5. So 5, 10, 15, or they're divisible by 3. There's always some logic. I never just,
Interesting.
I'm always hiding like in a game something that you can find. Not that anyone is watching, except me. But
But there's
yeah,
a feeling you get from those things too. Like that's the
yes,
thing. There's something about
definitely.
like there's a pace that creates. There's a like sometimes people that's where the ineffable pieces of writing come from, I think, is like the things that are truly kind of hidden, or to your point, like the reading between the lines parts.
Mm,
Those are usually the things that people are feeling rather than just reading,
yeah,
whether or
good
not
point.
they know
Yeah,
it. So, like,
huh.
I think
Yeah,
maybe, you know, it's maybe that's what it, yeah, there's not going to be many statisticians looking at your book and being like, he went by this formula and like, right? But I
yeah,
think there might be readers that feel it. Who knows?
yeah, yeah. Good point. Yeah. I haven't thought about this actually. That it's actually something that's felt unconsciously, noticing some patterns without being really aware that they're there.
Yeah.
So great. Now that this makes me want to do this even more now. So anyway, great. We found out about your title. I encourage, of course, everyone to read the book and find to what extent it's abrasive. I didn't find it to be abrasive at all. In fact, it actually flowed very beautifully and very naturally and all that. And so yeah, people will find out what it's all about. Okay, next question. Are you ready for the next question?
I'm ready for it.
Great. So if you were asked to critique your book, Glass and Gravel, so what would you say?
Damn, you got good
Imagine,
questions.
sorry.
You got good questions.
Great. I really thought about them. I really thought very long and hard. So, which is why it took so long to prepare for this. But imagine that you found Glass and Gravel in one of those bookstores where you can just pick books from a bin and you find it and you read it. So, what would you say? I'm not saying to be negative, but just what will
No,
be? Yeah.
there's definitely things I would do differently. I mean,
No, no, that's not really what I'm asking.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
But
yeah.
go ahead.
I mean, how would you evaluate it? How would you critique it? It doesn't have to be negative. You can say what this type of person might think about it, what this type of
See.
person might find it.
So I would
Yeah,
say that okay, I see where you're going.
right.
So I would say there's probably a few ways that you could take it. I think it depends how you read poetry. If you're
Mm,
going to sit there and really, I mean, the book's not long in terms of page length, but there's a lot packed into each page of it, and there's very intentional effects for the way that it's structured.
mm-hmm,
So I think if you sit there and you really like try to feel each piece of it, I think you're probably gonna it's pretty powerful.
mm-hmm,
Now you might have negative or positive feelings towards what the
mm,
powerful emotions are, but there's nothing in there that's like a soft poem, I would say.
yeah.
So I think that's one way. I also think that there's intentionally pieces I did that are one person, like there's words all over the pages and like kind of
Yeah.
structured in different ways. And there's logic to those
Mm-hmm,
things, but a large part of it is I hear sometimes that some people feel confused by it.
mm-hmm.
And that's actually
The point.
the intended effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a cognitive dissonance that I'm trying to create, but there is order to it.
Yeah.
So if you look for those things, you start to see the threads come together, and then the cognitive dissonance becomes part of the effect itself.
Yeah.
So I think that is what I I would be looking at the most if I were to just pick it up and read it.
Great, great. So what I'm hearing is that every one of these poems has an emotional charge, a strong one, and that's the point, regardless of the direction in which it goes. So yeah, it's true. It's true. That's also what I found, and this is also very difficult to do. To never let the reader rest even for a moment.
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah,
difficult, and yeah, it really is very deliberate. It's very clear that from these pieces where there is different formatting and things are strike through and like if I remember correctly, numbers or something, things in brackets. It looks like code actually. Now it makes sense that you say that you were in tech, but I didn't pick up on this actually when I read it. But now it makes sense that in a way it kind of looks like code sometimes.
yeah. I hear that a
Yeah,
lot. There's actually
yeah,
the one poem Romulus. I did a
uh,
Substack. Like it took
yeah,
3 newsletters to explain this is what the code. Like this is how. Well, it took 2 to explain the code, but 3 to explain the meaning and everything like that. But yeah, there's in Romulus. It looks like code because it is. I mean, writing
yeah,
to me is code.
yeah,
It's just how language is to communicate a concept, and I just took punctuation and created an extra layer
yeah.
of language, essentially.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I personally, I also write code. I'm not like I'm not a programmer. I'm not some engineer. I'm not a coding genius in any way. And so I sort of approach code like a normal person would approach, like trying to express myself in natural language to the computer. Keeping it as close to my natural logic and so when I see code that's written by an actual engineer, it's so complex. I don't, I don't understand how they're rotating here and here and doing these loops and all these things. It takes me a long time to understand how they came up with this code. But it's another form of condensing a lot of meaning into a very small amount. In fact, the fewer lines, this better than me. The fewer lines, the better. The more compact it is, the more elegant it is. This is the art. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
can appreciate this.
Just to clarify, I actually wasn't on the software side of tech. I was in the
Uh-huh.
sales operational side. I saw
Right.
some coding and stuff because I
Yeah.
had to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the interesting thing that coders don't realize about themselves is that they're doing the same thing writers are, where they're putting themselves on a page. It's like this is how they think, and if you look at one person's code, it's going to be slightly different from another person's because their logic for that process is just it comes from a different angle or whatever it might be. So yeah, it's tough to
Yeah.
understand someone else's.
It's the worst thing in the world to have to work on someone else's code. Speaking from experience, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's like a friend invites you over and you have to type something on their keyboard, and it's like it's the first time you've seen a keyboard. It's very strange. It's
Yep.
not your keyboard.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
basically.
found. Next question. I think you already said a lot about this, but still, let me ask it. So, what has writing Glass and Gravel taught you about yourself that you didn't know? So, did you discover something about yourself that you didn't expect? You didn't know it was there as
Yeah,
a
I actually
person.
think that that was what sparked the book. So I was writing a poem and I'd noticed that I had written a lot of poems that were similar words and concepts, and it helped me to understand that like I wrote a lot about my own life as though it was like a I wrote a lot in terms of structures. So like a lot of buildings are collapsing and like things like that. And I didn't even really know why I was writing those, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only after a while that I realized it was that I felt like I will make progress in life and do all these things. And it's very like the only way I can make progress is like it's not easy. It's tough sledding. You gotta
Mm-hmm.
like really plan it and put it together and then you're putting bricks on top of bricks and then someone comes and just knocks it all down, or something comes and just knocks
Mm-hmm.
it all down, or I knock it all down. And I didn't realize that's what I was necessarily writing about. And I kind
Yeah.
of knew that I felt that way, but it really solidified that was something I saw in myself, and that's what part of what sparked the book.
Awesome. It's I don't know if you're noticing this, but it's very interesting because the building analogies continue here.
Mm-hmm.
So glass, gravel, concrete, and then building, and then the bricks, laying bricks, buildings, and tearing down buildings. And I don't know what's the building thing. Where is it coming from? Do you have somebody in your family who is like a real estate developer
No,
or
no, I
something?
don't have
No.
anything like that. I mean, I don't know. I think it's what I landed on that felt true to what I'm able, like, true to being able to communicate how I feel about things, because you never can fully grasp it with just words, right? It
Yeah.
has to be
True. Yeah.
something like visual and like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain that, but yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
just something that I kept coming back to, and I think that I found that it helped me communicate certain concepts pretty well. And then I come back to it more often and it keeps getting more and more refined.
Yeah.
And then that just became like one of the things that was a strong tool that I have for communicating this. And then it just became a bunch of poems.
Mm-hmm.
I think the glass part of it actually only sometimes has to do with buildings, but it just happens to fit nicely with buildings to make it um, cohesive.
The next one is one of my favorites. So if you imagine someone reading your book, I'm sure you do. So who do you imagine? And I'm not talking here about like a marketing research persona type perspective. Just who do you picture? In your head when you picture someone reading, and also where are they? So how are they treating your book? How are they reading it? Do you know
This is
them?
this Yeah, this
Yeah,
is an awesome question.
great.
I
It
don't
doesn't
think
have
I
to be
even
one person.
realized that I did. Yeah, no, but I don't even think I realized I did this, but I think this is something that I definitely do. I think I picture a younger me. And like
Awesome.
see, I'm like, I know that there must be other people going through similar things or having similar issues and may not have the insight that I have now or
Mm-hmm.
whatever strength I do have now, things like that. And
Mm.
I think that I picture that person going through the book and going, this is what I feel, or oh, this is what's happening in my life. This is
Mm-hmm.
helping me understand this thing that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
It is okay for me to feel this way, or I know what I need to do now for myself to feel better about this situation. Or even just clarifying that, like, I think the biggest thing for me is just there's been so many emotions or feelings or ideas or just experiences I've had that I've been told you can't feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't exist. You're wrong. You don't feel that way. You're
Right.
making it up. You're whatever it might be. And there was no one that I could find that I could look at and say, "Oh no, that person feels that same thing and it's okay to feel it."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's kind of probably what I always have in the back of my mind.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. So you see yourself, a younger version of
Yeah.
yourself. Great.
Yep.
Was reading. Great. Very interesting. I didn't expect this answer. Not that I had something
Okay.
in mind, but excellent. Excellent answer. And I think that that's one of the best persons to write for.
Yeah.
An earlier you. Yeah. I'm also doing this. Yeah. Probably. Probably. Yeah.
Probably something that
Great.
everyone's doing in one way or
Yeah.
another. But I mean,
Mm,
who do you see when you write?
yeah. There are a few characters that come up here and there. Usually, in my mind, it's usually a girl that I see who is reading. She's usually in public transport, and I'm there, and I'm noticing that she's reading my book. And I'm always thinking, should I go tell her that this is my book or not? Or should I watch her expression? How is she reacting to is she reacting at all? All of these things. And this is usually what
Yeah,
I see. There is
that's
some
cool.
tension there where I don't know exactly what to do. It's never happened to me in real life. I've never seen this happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I would really react if I would ever go talk to her and tell her I'm the author.
Hmm.
I don't know how that would be perceived. So yeah, this is usually what I see. That's one. such personality. I can't think of anything else right now, but there are others.
That's a cool one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, says a lot about me, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to know like what it is that it says. It's a very visual. Like you've definitely clearly thought about it a lot because it's
Yeah,
on public transport.
I've seen this many times in my mind. Yeah. Um, Rarely something else. There have been other characters that I see who engage with what I'm writing, but it's rare. Yeah. So that would be my answer if I had to be perfectly honest. So great. So we answered that. So another question: what was an unexpected reward in your writing journey so far? Something you didn't even know you wanted.
Mm.
So maybe you were after something when you started out. You knew, for example, I want to be understood, but you received some other things along the way that you didn't expect, you didn't even know they exist. So what might be one of them?
I think. I actually think that I did start writing because I wanted to be. I thought I wanted to be understood by other people. I
Uh huh.
think this is the unexpected reward that I got was I used to think that I wanted to be understood. And what I realized was I just needed to understand myself.
Yeah.
And writing got me to that point of like, man, this is a really good question. You did a good job with
Right.
these.
Great.
It got me to the point of like, no one's ever going to fully understand me. And I don't even know if I want people to fully
Mm-hmm.
understand what's going on. And I think that's where that like the fear that we talked about earlier
Mm-hmm.
comes from. But I think it disillusioned me of that like illusion that I wanted everyone to understand me fully.
Yeah. That's a big one. That's a big one. I can relate to this.
Yeah.
It's very strange. For me, whatever I was looking for, I didn't find.
Hmm.
In my journey so far, I haven't found it. And so, in fact, I've gone maybe not pessimistic about it, maybe realistic about it. I don't know. I would say if you are after being understood, you will probably not be understood. You will be misunderstood by people, and you will be judged by people. And
Yes.
it's probably the worst place, where you can go to find understanding, writing. It's probably the worst place. And I found this out when I was at a party and people were talking about, the books they recently read. And if you just listen how people are talking about writers, like it's usually very rude, it's usually incredibly judgmental, and it's like, oh no, I don't like him because whatever, something very, I don't know, very arbitrary usually. And so this is probably the worst place where you can go to find understanding, and it's probably why we chose it. Maybe it's because at the end of the day you have to give this understanding to yourself.
I think it's exactly what
Probably.
it is.
Yeah, probably,
Yeah.
yeah. Probably that's what it is,
Yeah.
yeah. I have the same experience. I was very disillusioned. And to this day, I don't feel understood. And in fact, I feel very misunderstood. And even every day, even more so than yesterday. But I don't know. I think this is the right path.
Yeah. I'm
Strangely
right there
enough.
with you.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
strangely
think
enough.
it's very interesting. I think to your
Yeah.
point, probably a lot of writers get into writing because they want to be understood. But it's funny that we both came like the same thing happened to us both where we're like, wait, no,
Yeah.
that's not it.
In
But
fact,
it's
it's the
still,
opposite.
yeah, it's that you have to like
Yeah.
become okay with being misunderstood. And
Yes.
then you almost once you accept that, you almost like I don't weaponize isn't the right word because it's too violent, but like you leverage that in some way. You're like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be misunderstood, so I'm going to push the misunderstanding in the
Yeah.
direction that I want
Wait.
it to go. Yeah.
Precisely, yeah. Having a very thick skin
Yeah.
is the final result of this. Somehow, yeah, it's like a trial of fire.
Yep.
I
hundred
would say,
percent.
yeah. Great, great, awesome. So I even forgot what the what the question. Oh yeah, it was, what was unexpected for you. I can tell you one or two other things that were unexpected gifts along the way for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That are actually very big things because I didn't get what I wanted out of writing, like I just said. But for example, I met very interesting people. This is an undeniable gift that you sometimes receive. Like even now we're having this conversation. This wouldn't have happened if I never
Hmm.
started writing. This would have never happened. So one of the things that I am very grateful for is that I met very interesting people. This is one thing, probably the main thing, and it's also taught me a lot of other things. Too many to count. I don't know. There's so many things, but this is probably the main one. Oh yeah, and it's also allowed me to communicate with people in my life whom I couldn't communicate with before. So, for example, some relatives, for whatever reason, I couldn't communicate with them in real life. They're not a person that you can really have a conversation with. But when they read what I wrote, they found out who I was. So, in a way, I managed to finally tell them who I am by doing this. So, this was another gift, and I didn't expect this to happen.
Yeah. No, I think there's
Yeah.
something really interesting about. I think this goes back to your earlier point about like when you write for yourself, you allow the people that are meant to find you. But it's
Yeah.
also like it allows people to. There's like an unfiltered conversation that there's no. It's in a vacuum, so they get to see how you see yourself in a way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that there's, you might sever some relationships accidentally by your writing, or you might repair some. But yeah, I think that to your point, it's like you and I connected because I think we both read each other's books and we could see that there was something that connects us like threads,
Hmm.
right? Just from our
Yes.
writing.
Yeah.
And I think that we never would have had a conversation just because we were two people on the same
Yeah.
platform, right? So I think there's this huge power in writing, and the ability to do that, and that's the flip side of the fear that we both shared that we have that of like being seen and things.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Very well said. Yeah. So that's also what I meant, and you will probably be able in the years to come to sort of mark or spot some small gifts or medium gifts or large gifts that you receive from writing that are not copies sold and some award or whatever. It's full of these things. I was able to name many more earlier. Now they're kind of gone, but these two that I mentioned still remain. They still give me a lot. Yeah. So, what gave you the confidence to publish your work? So, was there like a defining moment when you knew you were ready, or you pushed yourself even though you weren't ready? So, was there like a moment where you knew I'm doing this, I'm publishing this? How
it's
did that happen? Yeah.
a constant battle with myself to put myself
Mm,
out there. I don't think there's ever a point where I feel ready, even when I'm writing it, when I'm publishing it, after I published it, whatever it might be. I don't
mm,
ever feel 100% confident in any of it, and I think that's part of it, right? It's like
mm-hmm.
there's no metrics to say that this is ready. You
Yeah.
kind of are going all out on a limb for it. But I think the thing that gave me the confidence to have the strength to push past that is just how many people in my life would read something I wrote. And at first I thought they were just trying to be nice and they would be like, oh my God, this is really good and blah, 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 blah. But then it became like, can you write more? Like, hey, can you show me other things that you've written like this? And like just people, things like clear, true interest from people in my life or like people I would meet at like just, I went to some like open mics and things like that. And like they would pull me aside afterward and be like, how'd you write this? And like, these are just random people. I don't think that they're trying to make me feel good about it because they feel like they have to. So having that happen repeatedly for in different ways, I think that was the thing that made me go like, so clearly I'm, it almost at a certain point felt a little selfish to
Mm-hmm.
not do it or I'm not sure if it's that or if it's like, oh, am I just scared of this thing for no, like, not for no reason, but like, I'm, there's a clear benefit here and not doing it because I'm scared. I don't know, but that's what got me to the point where I was like, maybe I should just like say, screw it and try it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did.
Awesome. Well, here, I think our experiences diverge drastically.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, it's almost hard to believe, what you're saying, that you got this positive feedback. It didn't, and encouragement, because it didn't happen that way for me, or at least, no, actually it did, but it was much, much earlier. It's very strange. Because at some point, what I was writing started to diverge from my circle's idea of who I am and what is acceptable, and all of these things. And I've actually heard many times, this is not you. People have said this many times. People who know me in real life, they've seen the persona, and they say, this is not you. I don't know what this is, but this is not you. And this is what I get. So for me, it was actually the opposite. So,
So it's funny. The people that really, really knew me the best would say similar things. Like I just
huh.
heard that from my one close family member the other day. He was like, "What are you doing with this poetry stuff? That's not even. I don't even know who that is in there."
Yeah, it's not you, it's not Nick, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's the hard part is you're going to get that feedback from anyone that's they have an idea of you in their head that they're trying to maintain.
Yeah. This is a lot of what I got. Yes, this is the general idea. And even after I published the books, I translated them into the language that these people can then understand. So because I wrote them in English and then I translated them so they can read it, and it was a very muted response. It was a lot of like, what is he on about? You know, so I wasn't understood. And as far as I understand, it's actually very rare to be understood by by people in your hometown or your immediate family. Or and now I've even accepted this, and it's actually very rare because a very small percentage of the population is actually reading poetry. I think in the US it's like less than 1% are reading poetry. And so, what is the chance that you have someone in your household who is also interested in poetry and they can understand it and really appreciate it? It's actually very small. So I don't blame these people. I don't hold a grudge. And then you go and find your literary family, and that's how I
Hmm.
call them. So I have my literary family, in the community, mainly on Instagram, and people that I enjoy reading, and they read what I'm writing, and this is my literary family, and it's a great feeling to belong.
I think that's a really, really good way of thinking of it because I never even thought of that. Like you have like your literary family, and then you
Yeah.
have like your real family, and because I feel that too, right? Like the connections that you can make about writing feel very different because it's more than just connecting on the writing itself. It's also like there's something about like I understand what you've gone through with the
Yeah.
because like on one hand I had that experience, but that was from people that weren't my family, weren't close to me or anything like that.
Mm.
The experience I have with people that are close to me is exact. The expression you gave made me laugh
All
because
right.
it's
Okay.
exactly what they all give. They just go
Okay.
right. They just look at
Okay.
him.
So in the end we meant the same thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Right.
I was getting it from like going to open mics. I was getting it from like I had a I might have a friend who likes poetry and he shows somebody or something like that. I was getting it mostly from
Yeah.
outside my immediate circles.
Right.
But yeah, I think knowing that the other person has gone through these things, there's this shared experience there that you
Yeah.
only really get when you've experienced these things.
Yeah. When you can relate. Yeah. Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So similar again. Great. I don't even remember what the original question was. Yeah. What gave you the confidence to publish your work? Okay. We,
Yeah.
we, we went through that. I have two more questions. If you're not pressed for time, we can go through them.
Nope. I'm good.
Great. So this is question number 12. What? Yeah. This is one of my favorite questions. So I'm pretty sure there is something like that. So out of all the pieces in your book, is there like a central piece, like you're most proud of this particular piece, and this is the one piece that you want people to remember, and you want them to know by heart, and you want to be known by this piece. And so if you had to choose one, if you had to choose just one that sort of captures the entire book, which one would it be? So you can read it. um, and of course I'm asking you about this because all of my books have a central piece, which is one particular piece. It's usually in the center of the book where I want people to remember this one. This is the main one. So
So
which?
it's interesting for me because there's one that it like actually ties everything together.
Mhm.
There's one that I like the most, but I think if I had to do one that was like, hey, this is telling you what you're going to get from this book, and like, if
Mhm.
you can only read one, read this one, I think it would probably be the first like full poem in the book, which is Fault Line.
Mhm.
And it's because I think it captures like pretty much all of the themes. It's the first poem for a reason, right? It kind of
Yeah.
sets everything up. Did you want me to read it?
Yes, of course, please.
Okay, so I'll also show the book at certain
Yeah.
points because I do the crazy formatting things, but this one's
Yeah.
called Fault Line. It's always there, something like sleep. The world split beneath the surface, the end and the end grinding their teeth, making mountains out of borrowed time. We tell ourselves there isn't a break, that it's just a shift. A mother rearranges her insides to hold us, or all we bury. The stomach is a casket for sustenance, quakes underneath the life, growth and groans, swallowing, hums of everything sworn, to keep but even. Fertile ground can't bear what begs to fracture thin. Skin cracks and slither in, veins of truth too thick and thin to pulse. Blood wells in callous shells. Then it ruptures.
Oh yeah, I remember this one. Yeah,
Yeah?
I remember this. Great, great, awesome. There is a central piece. It captures the essence of the entire book.
To an
The central
extent, yeah.
message.
And
Yeah,
that poem continues on for a little bit. It's a long one, so
yeah,
I won't read the whole thing.
yeah.
Um, there's a central message there for sure. And it's
Awesome. And which is the one that you're most proud of? They're different, as I
yeah, the one I'm
understand.
most proud of is, well, actually, I think I'm probably the most proud of that one, but the one I like the most is Lucy,
Yeah,
I'm Home,
great. Can you read it?
which, sure, I find it.
And now that
And
you say this, also for me, it's the same. Now that I think about it, the one that I like the most is different from this. Yeah, but strange, strange.
it's
Huh.
really interesting, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
Like, it's not, there's just something that feels, I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
There's one that I'm like, I did technically well on this one, and there's one that I'm like, I just like this one. So this one is actually sideways in the
Yeah, I
book.
remember this
So
one that was sideways.
yeah, it looks like this. So this is called Lucy, I'm Home. My knuckles whiten, bending backwards. Plastic connections stressing past your intelligent design. Falling, knocking knees, thunder, instability. Crashing, grounding, where corpses of lightning lie. With skeletons of safe still smoldering. Where scorchings of wood chips smoke. Like filters of cigarettes that fail to soften my regrets. One broken Lucy, hung limp where cancer from lovers' lies still linger on my lip. A last kiss, fragments of blistered remembrance, playground wood chips crushing in praying palms. I pray they etch into my prints, as if I pray. An ember of nostalgia brands home into my lungs, as if I believe heaven is a mantle holding a sacred space for one lonely, broken vase, a kneeling devoted to the fireplace, every crack and every break, belonging, meaning, brimming, loving, filled by itself, as if I believe home is where the ashes live, as if I hope any empty vessel can be an urn.
It's just it's really beautiful. Yeah. Just
Thank you.
it was a joy. It was a joy to listen. Yeah. To it being read. Um, and that's another question. Did you like reading your poetry out loud? Or not?
I'm a
I think
fan of it
that's
for
another
certain
question. Yeah.
poems. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of it for certain poems. Some of my poems are very hard to read out loud because of the way the
Yeah.
enjambment works and things like that.
Mm,
But like that one, that Lucy one is like it's very musical.
it
So
is
that one I really like reading out loud.
great.
There's some that like Romulan, the one that you're talking about with the code book, like I
Yeah.
do not want to read that one
Yeah.
out loud ever.
It was not intended. Yeah, for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great, great, awesome. Well, nice. I'm asking this question because at some point, like I said, I realized that in every one of my books there is a central piece, and it's usually the one that I'm most proud of.
Hmm.
Not necessarily the one I like the most, and I even found that I hear it in like in a special voice in my head or something. There is something about it. There's something special about it, and and it really made me think about this one piece. Why why is this the centerpiece? Why am I so proud of it? Why do I find it so beautiful?
Yeah.
And so on, relative to all of the others. It's like some of them are they're not filler. I never allow myself to use filler, but they're just not on that level that I consider this one to be. It just goes beyond.
What is it in Echoes of Reason and Madness?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's actually two or three of them that are equal to me. Let me check. So this is this is Echoes. I call it Echoes in short. So Echoes of Reason and Madness. There is one which is particularly sweet, and this is the one that I like the most, and this is probably the one that I want people to remember and to stick with them. So it's very short. It's just 3 lines. So it's variety is better than the best. A rare chance that life follows the restoration of the senses. So this is the essence. So this is the central one. So this is a person who has gone through a very difficult time and they're trying to enjoy life again. That person was me, but it doesn't matter. So people can relate to this then in their own life. So variety is better than the best. So this is like an acknowledgement of I'm not going to explain every line, but just tell you why I like it so much. Maybe it's because it promises so many possibilities. A rare chance at life, restoration of the senses, variety, something being better than the best. That's the whole point of the book. That
Yeah.
it starts. It starts in it's in 3 chapters. The first one is hell. The next one is purgatory, and the third one is paradise. And so these are the 3 stages of going through
Where
depression.
where does that one fall? That poem.
This one, I think. Let me see. That's a good question. So this is one of the last pieces of purgatory. So this is just before entering paradise, and so this is sort of the highest point before it sort of plateaus before
Hmm.
you reach it. I think that this is the sweetest point of the narrative here. So I'm really proud of it, even though it's so simple. It's just three
Well, I think the
three
shorter it
lines.
is, the harder it is to be effective, right? Like really we're always trying to like if I could make one of those poems shorter, I would. I'm never trying to make a poem longer, right? I think
Yeah,
it's actually harder
it
to
is.
compress things. So,
It is harder.
and I think there's a lot, especially in the variety is better than the best, that there's a lot just packed into just that line, right? Like each
That's
line
actually
is
true. Sorry for interrupting. This is
no.
actually, I think it's, I'm not sure if it's an Italian saying or a French saying. Variety is better than the best. It is in one of those two languages. I don't remember which one it was. I've heard it. So it also captures, the approach to life of an entire civilization, that can enjoy life. But I don't remember which one it was. If I heard it in Italian or I heard it in French, I don't remember what it was. But I remember that this is what it meant, and I think this is really important. It's an important philosophy to have. That was my answer to that question for Echoes. The other books have, of course, another central piece, and yeah. So let me see what I have. What else I have? I have just one more question. Yeah. So this is maybe this is more of a generic question, but still. So if you could go and write anywhere in the world, where would you go? It doesn't have to be one place. Maybe you can give us maybe one, two, three places where you would
Well,
go
right now,
specifically to get inspired, like be
oh,
submerged in
specifically being
the.
inspired.
No, I mean being submerged in the energy of the place, and the pressure it exerts on you, or I don't know, just
Right
being
now,
in.
the
Yeah,
easy answer to this
yeah,
is I would just go somewhere warm because it's starting to get cold here.
yeah. Same here. Very cold.
Huh. I don't know. I've never thought of this in that way, but for some, and I think this kind of is maybe part of the reason why, but I've always really, really wanted to go to Istanbul,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Constantinople,
Have
Byzantium,
you
whatever
been
you're
there?
like. No, I
Oh no, I
haven't.
haven't.
Yeah. Because it's, to me, there's so much that's gone on there. So many civilizations and types of civilizations have been through there. And it's always at this like central point. And I don't know. There's just something about it that has felt like it's meaningful in some way to me for most
Yeah.
of my life. I don't know why, but
Very
I
interesting.
think that would probably be where I would go if
Very
I was
interesting.
looking specifically for inspiration.
Huh. Very interesting. I've been there. I can attest that it's a very interesting place. I myself experienced a kind of shock there at how different it was. I had never seen a city like this ever. It's just bustling with life. There is so much life there, so much energy, so much stuff going on. It can be overwhelming, and it was overwhelming for me. It cannot be explained. You have to
Hmm.
see it. And it's very interesting. This reminds me of a friend I had who used to travel all throughout Southeastern Asia, mostly, but also in other places. And he was a very strange person. He had a very interesting outlook, on life. At one point, I think I invited him to go to a museum, and he said, "No, I would never go. I wouldn't go to a museum. I would much rather go to the most stinking market, fish market, or whatever it is, where it's bustling with life, and there's people haggling there, and there's all kinds of spices and smells and strange people, and all of that." He says, "I would go where life is." He said that almost verbatim. I'm saying this now almost verbatim, like how he said it. I thought this was very strange at the time, but now I understand it. Putting yourself, and I think this is maybe what Istanbul represents. It's so bustling, with cultures and life, and there's so much going on. It's clearly it's the polar opposite of maybe where you live. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I'm near like New York City and like Philadelphia, so like there's some of that in those places, but like I feel like New York City is it. Yeah, it's the melting pot, but it's only been since what 1700s or so that it's really
yeah,
exemplified that. Whereas there's something about Istanbul that it's kind of always been like
yeah,
in one way or another a type of New York City because of where
mm,
it's located
right,
and how many civilizations. Yeah, so and I also really resonate with what your friend said. I've never been a fan of museums and things like that because I'm like I can just like it's I could see that on the internet too if I wanted to. It's just as lifeless to me in
yeah,
the museum versus on the internet. And it's like I mean there's a little bit more to it, but I would rather go and experience the culture that the people that live there are experiencing as much as I can realistically.
yeah. Very interesting. Right. So these were all of my questions. These were all of my 13 questions. We've been talking for an hour and a half, which is which is great. I didn't know how much how much time it would take. I was thinking maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Now we have an hour and a half. So I think that's great. We can of course continue talking because these questions they raise more questions and more questions and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Is
but
there anything else you want to say? Um, Maybe to our audience, whoever is watching.
no, just keep an eye out for Glass and Gravel. It's available on Amazon as well as most online retailers right now.
Yeah.
I also am doing newsletters where I do reviews of poetry
Hmm.
twice a week, and I do like annotations and kind of make a prompt based on them. If you wanted to check that out, that's
Hmm.
at ncalder.substack.com. And I'm about a third of the way through my first novel, so keep an
Awesome.
eye out for that one.
Great. So now I'm going to ask the most boring of questions. So what is it about? Or
That's a
you
hard
cannot
question.
say.
It's so complicated. I don't want
Yeah.
to talk about it too much until it's
All right.
done because I'm still
It will change
exploring some
like
of
a
the
dog.
concepts. Yeah,
Probably. Probably.
that's how it goes.
I also want to write a novel next. I have two or three things in mind that I really want to do in life. They intimidate me. They will be big. They will be big projects. And so I want to be prepared. I don't want to rush them. Like I rushed some of my projects earlier and regretted it later. I want to write a fantasy book. That's one of them. And the other one, I want to write sort of a realist, absurdist novel, like the opposite of fantasy, like hyper real,
Okay.
existentialist, that stuff. I really want to do this. And I also want to write like maybe it will be the same. No, I'm not sure yet. Which will the whole point of the book will be that it will be very sensual, almost magic. Have you heard of magical realism? The genre, yeah, like this. So the whole point will be the feeling that you're left with. So maybe like long and long and long passages of nothing particular happening, but just existing in that world, like a character is just maybe going to a cafe and what they're hearing, what they're seeing, just that. I want to capture feelings and sustain them for a very long time, and just gradually move through them in the book. So this is something that I really want to do.
Okay.
This will be another challenge. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know how I would do that. That's
Yeah,
that's gotta be hard.
me neither. I have no idea. That, but it's exciting me. It has for a very long time. So we'll see. And yeah, maybe I can say a few last words about my own presence on the web. So people can find me on Instagram, of course, like you. I post there. I try to post there semi regularly. It's difficult to keep up, coming up with new things all the time. I said what my handle was earlier. My books are also on Amazon, and I can be found on Goodreads. And that's it. That's pretty much it. And yeah, so it was great, really great talking to you, Nick. Even better than I expected. And I wish you to have many more interviews with interesting questions in the future. And yeah, I'll be reading, I'll be writing, and watching your career develop with great interest. Like Palpatine says, that's a quote from Palpatine from Star Wars. Do you know
Well,
this?
I don't know if I like that.
No, that's a joke. That's the joke.
I know, I know, I know,
So yeah,
I know.
no, but really, and see what happens. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's everything from me. Uh, yeah,
cool. I guess we
great.
can. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you for the
we can.
opportunity and for coming up with the questions and everything.
Okay, great.